Hi, I'm Dr. Sarah Mitchell, and the journey I'm about to recount is one that began with me walking away from a high-profile role at one of the largest pharmaceutical giants, Sterling Pharmaceuticals, only to eventually create a groundbreaking treatment that saved thousands of lives, including the life of my former boss's daughter. Sometimes the most difficult choices we make end up being the ones that matter the most. It was a rainy Tuesday when I walked into James Sterling's office at Sterling Pharmaceuticals. The towering skyline of Manhattan spread out behind the windows, and I handed him my resignation letter. "Sarah, you're making a huge mistake," he said, barely glancing at the letter before tossing it aside. His tailored suit seemed to radiate disapproval. "We were about to promote you to head of research, corner office, 7-figure salary. Why throw all of that away?" I stood my ground. "Because we're ignoring the research that truly matters. The rare disease program I proposed." "Not this again," he interrupted, rubbing his temples. "Rare diseases don't bring in profit. We focus on the big money drugs, cholesterol, diabetes, hair loss. Those are what pay for these views." He waved a hand toward the skyline. "People are dying, James. Children are dying, and we have the resources to help them." He leaned back in his chair, that smug smile I'd come to loathe appearing. "Sarah, you're brilliant. That's why I hired you straight out of Harvard Med. But you're naive. This is business, not philanthropy. If you want to help kids, donate to Street Jude's." I stood tall. "I'm starting my own research company dedicated to rare genetic disorders." He laughed, the sound sharp and dismissive. "With what money? What labs? The board won't even talk to you without my approval." "I have funding," I said calmly. "And I have my research." His eyebrows shot up. "Your research? All those after-hours projects you've been working on? Company property, Dr. Mitchell?" "Not anymore," I replied with a smile. "Check your contracts, Mr. Sterling. Any after-hours research using personal resources belongs to the researcher. It's in the employment agreement your father drafted 30 years ago." His expression darkened. "You've been planning this for a while." "I've been preparing ever since you closed the pediatric research division to focus on a hair loss treatment," I said. He stood up, towering over his desk. "You'll fail. You can play scientist in some garage lab while we develop real treatments. In 6 months, you'll be begging for your job back." I walked toward the door. "Goodbye, James. I hope you never need the treatments I'll create." The months that followed were every bit as difficult as James had predicted. I sold my apartment, moved into a tiny studio in Queens, and turned my dining table into a workspace. Every last bit of savings went into equipment and research. But I had something James didn't, a breakthrough. Those late nights at Sterling Labs hadn't been in vain. I had discovered a potential cure for rare genetic disorders that affected protein folding in children. Traditional treatments could only manage the symptoms. My approach could actually cure the disease. I founded my company, Mitchell Genetics. Our first lab was in a garage, but that wouldn't last. My work caught the attention of Dr. Helen Zhang, a brilliant geneticist who quietly funded promising startups. "This protein folding approach is groundbreaking," she said, examining my data through round glasses. "How did Sterling miss this?" "They never knew about it," I replied. 6 months later, we had a fully equipped lab, small, but advanced, with a dedicated team of scientists. Our findings were being published in top journals. Then came the call that changed everything. It was another Tuesday, exactly 1 year after I left Sterling Pharmaceuticals. My assistant put the call through without realizing who it was. "Sarah," James's voice, no longer full of arrogance, now sounded desperate. "I need your help. It's Emma, my daughter." I sat down, my heart racing. Emma Sterling, the 6-year-old I met at company events. A lively, bright child. "What's wrong with Emma?" I asked. "The doctors. They've diagnosed her with Mitchinson disease. They say she has less than a year." I froze. Mitchinson disease, the very condition my treatment was designed to cure. "Sarah, are you there?" James's voice cracked. "Please, she's my little girl." I looked at my computer screen, where our latest trial data shone with promise. Then I glanced at the photo on my desk. Me and my team celebrating our first successful lab trial. "Come to my office tomorrow, James, and bring Emma's medical records," I said softly. "Your office?" he asked. "You mean you actually have a company?" "Yes, James, and you better hope my playing scientist has paid off." The Mitchell Genetics lobby wasn't as grand as Sterling Pharmaceuticals' marble entrance, but it had something more valuable. Hope. James Sterling, usually so commanding, now stood there with an air of fear. Emma held tightly to his hand, her face pale and smaller than I remembered, with her mother, Victoria, standing by her side, clutching her designer handbag like armor. "Dr. Mitchell will see you now," my assistant called, and I saw James flinch at my title. My office was modest, but the glass wall behind me offered a view into our cutting-edge lab, equipped with equipment that even Sterling Pharmaceuticals would envy. "Hello, Emma," I greeted, offering a warm smile to ease her nerves. "Would you like to see something cool while I talk to your parents?" She nodded shyly. "Dr. Chin, would you show Emma the glowing proteins?" I asked. My lead researcher, Dr. Chin, crouched down to Emma's level. "We have proteins that glow like fireflies. Want to see?" After Emma left with Dr. Chin, I turned to James and Victoria. "I've gone through Emma's medical records. Mitchinson disease is aggressive. It causes protein misfolding, leading to progressive cellular damage. Traditional treatments don't work." Victoria began to cry. James squeezed her hand. But I continued, turning my computer screen toward them. "We've been developing a gene therapy to correct the mutation at the root of the problem. It's a viable treatment for protein misfolding disorders." James leaned forward. "How experimental is this? What's the success rate?" I pulled up our trial data. We've had successful animal trials, and human trials are set to begin next quarter. But we could fast-track Emma's case, apply for compassionate use. "Fast-track?" Victoria whispered. "How long would that take?" 2 months for approval, then 3 months of treatment, I said. I saw their faces fall. Emma had less than a year. This is her best chance. James stood up suddenly, pacing. "I don't understand. The report said you were years away from viable treatments. Our analysts, your analysts." I carefully interjected, "You haven't seen our labs?" "We kept things quiet until our patents were locked down." Pulling out a file, I added, "By the way, our patents were approved last week. This treatment is ours." He halted mid-step. "How much? How much would it take to buy the patents?" "You set the price. Sterling Pharmaceuticals can acquire the treatment and fast-track it." "No," his response hung in the air, as if I'd struck him. "No," he repeated, incredulously. "Sarah, be realistic. We have the resources, the network. The same resources and network you said I would never have." I countered, keeping my tone even. "The same ones you threatened to use against me?" "No," I said firmly. "Mitchell Genetics will bring this treatment to life. We'll save Emma and children like her. Children you once said weren't profitable enough to help." Victoria stood, tears streaked but determined. "James, what is she talking about?" I watched James, his composure slipping as his wife glared at him. "It was just business," he muttered. "The board." "It was wrong," Victoria interrupted, turning toward me. "Dr. Mitchell, please help our daughter. Do whatever it takes." I opened my laptop and began typing. "The compassionate use paperwork is ready. I just need your signatures," and James, I said, locking eyes with him, "I'll need your word that Sterling Pharmaceuticals will stay out of our research." He nodded slowly. "You have it. Just save her, please." Emma's laughter echoed in the hall as she peered through a microscope, her face lit with awe. "We begin tomorrow," I said, my voice calm but resolute. "But understand this. Emma won't be our only patient. Every child with Mitchinson disease deserves a chance at this treatment." James sank into his seat, watching Emma, his voice barely a whisper. I was wrong. About everything. This wasn't about proving a point, it was about saving lives, starting with Emma, and forever altering how rare diseases are treated. The next few months passed quickly, filled with lab work, meetings, and watching Emma's progress. It wasn't just about one child, it was about showing the world that our treatment worked. I'll never forget the first dose. Emma sat in the chair, clutching her unicorn. "Will it hurt?" she asked. "Just a little pinch," I assured her. "And the medicine will glow, just like the proteins we showed you." "Like fireflies?" she asked softly. "Exactly, like fireflies." James and Victoria held hands, anxiety etched on their faces. 3 months of treatment stretched ahead. 2 weeks later, Emma's protein levels began stabilizing. By week 6, her cellular degeneration had slowed considerably. By week 9, we knew we had achieved something extraordinary. The mutated proteins are being replaced by healthy ones, Dr. Chen announced. "It's working." Victoria burst into tears, while James stared at the results in stunned silence. The news spread like wildfire. Families of children with Mitchinson disease reached out to us, and the media took notice. Revolutionary treatment saves Sterling Harris, one headline read. Mitchell Genetics, pioneering rare disease treatments, another declared. But the true triumph came 3 months later. Emma was coloring in our break room when one of our researchers dropped a stack of papers. Emma rushed to help, and everyone froze. Just months ago, she couldn't walk without support. Now, she moved like any healthy 6-year-old. The paper shouldn't be on the floor, she said matter-of-factly. It's important. James, watching from the glass, turned to me, tears brimming in his eyes. Thank you, he whispered. I don't deserve it. I stopped him. This isn't about you or me, I replied, gesturing toward Emma, now teaching our lead researcher how to draw a unicorn. It's about them. The following week, James called a board meeting at Sterling Pharmaceuticals. I was surprised to be invited. Mitchell Genetics has proven that rare disease research is not only ethical, but commercially viable, he said. I'm proposing a $2 billion initiative focused on rare diseases. The board reacted with surprise and excitement. James held up a hand. And to lead this, he continued, I propose a partnership with Mitchell Genetics, an equal partnership with Dr. Mitchell, maintaining full control over the research. He turned to me. If you'll agree. The same people who once dismissed me were now waiting for my decision. One condition, I said. The treatments we develop will be accessible to everyone, regardless of their financial situation. Agreed, James said quickly. We'll establish a foundation to cover costs for families in need. 5 years later, Mitchell Genetics stands as the world's largest rare disease research network. We've developed treatments for 12 conditions once thought to be unprofitable. Emma is now a healthy 11-year-old, dreaming of becoming a scientist. The garage where it all began is now a museum, inspiring future researchers. James and Victoria are strong supporters, and the Sterling Foundation has helped thousands of families access life-saving treatments. That corner office James once offered? It's now a pediatric research lab. Last week, I received a letter from a young doctor with a promising treatment idea. Her hospital had rejected it, calling it commercially unviable. I thought back to the rainy Tuesday when I took that leap into the unknown, to Emma drawing unicorns, to the children whose lives we changed because we refused to accept unprofitable. My response was simple. Come see me tomorrow. Bring your research. Because sometimes the biggest breakthroughs come from those who refuse to accept unprofitable as the answer. As I sit in my office, watching our researchers through the glass wall, I smile. On my desk is a framed drawing of a slightly crooked unicorn, signed by Emma. Beside it, a jar of proteins that still glow like fireflies. They say success is the best revenge, but I've learned it's not about revenge at all. It's about remembering why you started. It's about changing lives by refusing to give up. When James asked if I regretted not taking that corner office, I pointed to our lab, where researchers work on tomorrow's breakthroughs, and to the wall filled with photos of children whose lives we saved. Emma's unicorn drawing, I said, some views are worth more than a Manhattan skyline. And that's what truly matters, not the victories over those who doubted you, but the lives you change along the way. Because sometimes the biggest breakthroughs don't come from proving others wrong, but from proving hope right. Thank you for watching, stay stunned, and I'll see you in the next video.